Linda thought she'd buried her son 10 years ago. But the truth was, she'd only buried a lie. When a forgotten letter surfaced, one written by her son, just days before he disappeared, it shattered everything she believed about his death. What that letter revealed would not only change her life, but force Dr. Phill himself to confront one of the hardest truths he's ever faced on his show. The studio lights hum softly above, casting a warm glow over a space that's seen hundreds of stories, but none like this. Linda sits alone on the stage, her hands twisting nervously in her lap, her eyes scanning the crowd, but not really seeing anyone. For 10 years, she's carried the same unbearable question. Why did my son take his own life? Across from her, Dr. Phill leans forward, his tone soft, measured, knowing the weight that hangs in the air. Between them lies a single envelope. Yellowed edges, creased corners, Daniel's handwriting across the front, slanted, unmistakable. "Linda," he says gently, "we found this among your son's personal items. It was addressed to you, but it was never mailed." She stares at it, frozen. You can almost feel the decades of grief collide with a flicker of hope. A letter she never knew existed. A voice she thought was gone forever. The camera cuts closer. Her lips tremble. I don't know if I can," she whispers. "You can take your time," Dr. Phill assures her. "But I think this might be the truth you've been waiting for." The audience holds its breath as she reaches for the envelope. Her fingers shake. The paper crackles like a heartbeat in the silence. It's more than just paper. It's a doorway to everything she lost, everything she thought she knew. She opens it, slowly, carefully. For a moment, she can't read. Her eyes blur with tears. Dr. Phill leans in, offering to read it for her. But she shakes her head. "No, it's his words. I need to be the one." The first line stops her cold. "Mom, if you're reading this, it means I didn't do what they wanted me to do." A gasp ripples through the room. Linda's voice cracks. You didn't mean to die." Her hands cover her mouth, the letter trembling between her fingers. Dr. Phill looks down, visibly moved. He takes a slow breath, composing himself before speaking. "Linda, this changes everything." But before he can continue, she interrupts softly, reading the next line aloud. "If anything happens to me, promise you'll tell the truth, even if it hurts." The silence that follows feels eternal. No one in the audience moves, not even Dr. Phill. It's a moment where grief meets revelation, where every assumption shatters into pieces. Then, quietly, Dr. Phill says, "Linda, sometimes the hardest truth isn't the one we discover. It's the one we already felt in our gut." She nods slowly, tears streaming down her face. "I always knew something was wrong," she whispers. "I just didn't have proof." He leans forward again, his tone shifting, part curiosity, part compassion. "What made you feel that way back then? Was there something about that night?" Her gaze drops to the floor. "He called me. The night before they said she can't finish. He said he loved me, but his voice, he sounded scared." Dr. Phill lets her pause. The silence feels like respect. When she finally looks back up, there's strength behind the pain. "I thought I failed him, but now I think he was trying to protect me." The camera lingers on her face, the kind of grief that only a parent can know. Dr. Phil's voice comes in softly. "Linda, this letter, it might be the key to understanding what really happened. But you have to be ready, because once the truth starts coming out, there's no putting it back in the envelope." She exhales shakily, her grip tightening on the paper. "Then let's open it all the way." And that's when Dr. Phill notices something strange, a second sheet behind the first. His brow furrows as he gently lifts it from the envelope. There's a name written at the top in smaller, darker ink. He reads it silently, then looks up. "Linda, who's Ray?" Her entire body stiffens. That's when everything changes. The audience doesn't know it yet, but that one name, written in Daniel's handwriting, will unravel 10 years of lies, hidden motives, and a truth darker than any of them expect. If the past suddenly handed you proof that everything you believed was wrong, would you want to open that envelope? The screen fades from a studio lights to the soft hum of a suburban evening. A porch light flickers. Crickets. A house that feels ordinary until you know what happened inside it. 10 years earlier, Linda's life looked perfect from the outside. The white fence, the framed family photos, the Sunday dinners where laughter masked the quiet tension. Daniel was 19. Smart, kind, with a creative streak that made everyone say he'd go far. But behind that smile was a shadow no one wanted to name. At the kitchen table, Linda watched him scribble in a notebook, always writing, never sharing. Sometimes, she'd hear him whisper to himself, "It's not fair, they said they'd stop." But when she asked, he'd just smile. "Nothing, Mom. It's just music lyrics." That was the first lie. Then came the late-night calls. Daniel would sneak outside after midnight, pacing the backyard in the dark. Linda once opened the back door to check on him. He jumped like he'd seen a ghost. "It's just a friend," he said, voice trembling. "Don't worry about it." But Linda did worry. Mothers always do. One night, she found an envelope tucked under his mattress. No address. Just one word on the front. Later. Inside was a note. "I can't tell you yet, Mom. It's safer this way." That was the moment her world started to crack. She showed the note to her husband, Mark, hoping for comfort. But Mark just shook his head. "He's dramatic. Probably a breakup or something. Don't make a scene." And she wanted to believe that. God, she wanted to. Because believing anything else meant admitting their perfect life wasn't so perfect after all. 3 weeks later, Daniel vanished. The police called it a runaway at first. Then, when his car was found near the river with his phone inside, they changed their minds. Suicide, they said. Open and shut. But there was no body. No trace. Just a note on his desk that read, "I'm sorry." Linda read that note so many times the ink began to blur. Every night, she'd whisper to herself, "What were you sorry for, baby?" But no one could answer. And yet, something about it never felt right. Daniel's shoes weren't in the car. His backpack was gone, and he'd withdrawn all the money from his college fund 2 days before disappearing. When Linda brought it up to the detective, he sighed. "Grief does strange things, ma'am. Sometimes people just don't want to be found." It felt like the world had decided to move on without her. Friends stopped visiting. Mark stopped talking. And the silence inside that house became its own kind of grave. Years passed. Birthdays came and went. Linda kept the same voicemail greeting, just in case he ever called. She'd listen to it every night before bed, whispering, "I'm still here." But deep down, she never stopped asking herself the question that kept her awake for a decade. If Daniel really wanted to die, why did so many things point to him wanting to live? A small, flickering doubt that refused to die. And now, sitting on Dr. Phil's stage 10 years later, that doubt had a name. Ray. A name that made her stomach twist, because Ray wasn't some stranger. He was family. He was Mark's brother, Daniel's uncle. And back then, he was the one who handled everything after the police report. The paperwork, the funeral arrangements, even Daniel's life insurance policy, something Linda hadn't even known existed until years later. The perfect lie wasn't Daniel's disappearance. It was the story built around it. And soon, Linda would learn that the lie didn't end with her son's death. It began there. If someone close to you offered comfort during your darkest moment, would you ever imagine they were the reason it began? Back in the studio, the lights feel colder now. The audience sits in silence, leaning forward, waiting for Linda to keep reading. The air feels heavy, like everyone knows something big is about to break. Linda's hands tremble. "He didn't mean to die," she whispers again, scanning the page. The ink looks faded, but the words hit like thunder. "Mom, I'm not safe. Please don't believe anything they tell you. If you find this, just know, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth sooner." Her voice cracks, and Dr. Phill leans forward. "Linda, there's more. Keep going." She hesitates. You can see it on her face. Part of her doesn't want to know what comes next. Because once you read the truth, you can't unread it. She steadies herself and continues. "Someone close to us isn't who they say they are. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. If you see Uncle Ray, tell him I'm done. I won't do it anymore." The crowd gasps. The studio lights dim slightly. You can feel heart stop for a second. "Uncle Ray," Dr. Phill repeats softly. His tone changes, less curiosity, more concern. "Linda, who is Ray?" Her eyes dart away. He's my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, and Daniel was close to him. She nods. Ray was like a second father to him. They worked on cars together. He helped pay for Daniel's tuition when Mark and I couldn't. Dr. Phill folds his hands, leaning in. And did Ray ever act differently after Daniel disappeared? Linda hesitates. The question seems to pull something dark from her memory. He was calm. Too calm. He told me to accept what happened, that it was time to move on. Her voice lowers. But he was the one who called the police that night. He said he found Daniel's car by the river before anyone else did. The audience murmurs. Dr. Phill glances down at the letter again. There's more. He clears his throat and reads aloud. If they say I'm gone, don't believe them. Please look for the truth, Mom. I love you. The camera cuts to Linda. She's no longer crying. She's frozen. Processing. Her grief suddenly has edges now. It's turning into anger. Dr. Phil's voice breaks the silence. Linda, when your son's car was found, was there ever a forensics report? Anything that confirmed? She shakes her head slowly. They said there was too much water damage. Ray said it didn't matter. He said the pain would stop once we buried something. Buried something? Dr. Phill echoes. Linda's voice trembles. They gave me a closed casket. I never saw what was inside. The words hang there like a thundercloud. Dr. Phill looks toward the producers off camera. His tone is low, serious. We're going to find out what really happened. The screen fades to a short cutaway. Police reports, clips of the old investigation, photos of Daniel smiling beside his Uncle Ray. The audience sees the boy's face, full of life, full of light, and then a cold, official document stamped case closed. But one thing stands out, a line in the original file that no one had noticed before. Personal items retrieved and transferred to next of kin, R. Matthews. Ray's initials, not Linda's. The camera cuts back to Dr. Phill, his expression hard to read. Linda, I think we need to talk about what Ray may have been hiding. Because based on this letter, your son didn't die that night. He ran. Linda's lips part slightly, but no sound comes out. You can see it. The mixture of relief and dread all tangled together. Ran? From what? From who? Dr. Phill leans closer, his tone soft but sharp. That's exactly what we're going to find out. The studio fades into silence. All you can hear is Linda's quiet breathing and the faint rustle of that letter in her hand. The letter that waited 10 years to be read. And somewhere inside that envelope lies one more clue. A small corner of a torn photograph tucked between the pages. Linda doesn't notice it yet, but when she does, it'll lead to the proof no one saw coming. That photograph would soon reveal something impossible. A truth buried deeper than Daniel's so-called grave. If someone you loved sent you a warning from the past, would you chase the truth, even if it meant losing the peace you built on a lie? The studio lights flicker as Dr. Phill turns to his team. His tone shifts, calm but urgent. We reached out to local authorities, he says, glancing at the letter again, and they've confirmed something unusual about the original case file. The audience murmurs. Linda's fingers tighten around the letter like she's holding on to air. Ray Matthews, Dr. Phill continues, wasn't just Daniel's uncle. He was the one listed as next of kin. The one who signed for all the evidence after Daniel's disappearance. Linda looks stunned. That can't be right. I'm his mother. Dr. Phill nods. I know, and that's exactly why it didn't make sense to us either. Cut to a flashback-style montage. Paperwork being stamped, Ray's signature on a form, the police handing over boxes marked personal items, Daniel Matthews. A quiet narrator tone threads through. While Linda grieved, someone else controlled the narrative. The tension builds as Dr. Phill lays out a new document on the table, a financial report. Ray opened a new bank account just days after Daniel's funeral, he says. And there's one deposit that matches the amount withdrawn from Daniel's college fund. The camera pans to Linda's face. Shocked? Disbelief. Are you saying he took Daniel's money? Dr. Phill doesn't answer right away. He lets the silence breathe. Then, quietly, we don't know yet, but we do know that someone moved that money across 3 accounts in the following year. And that trail ends in a small town 2 states away. Linda's voice cracks. The same place that photo was taken, he nods. Exactly. The producers roll the image onto the screen behind them. A grainy shot from a gas station camera, time-stamped 2 years after Daniel's death. A young man refueling an old pickup truck. Faded cap, scruffy beard, but those eyes unmistakably Daniel's. Gasps ripple through the audience. One woman in the front row covers her mouth. Linda leans forward, whispering, "That's him. That's my son." Dr. Phill pauses. "We had that image enhanced by a forensic specialist. The scar on his wrist matches the one Daniel had from a bike accident at age 15. Linda's eyes fill with tears. He was alive. He was out there all this time, and then her expression hardens, the heartbreak mixing with rage. Ray knew. He knew. Dr. Phil's voice lowers. We confronted Ray before he passed away last year. We reached out to him for a statement before today's episode aired. At first, he denied everything. But then he said something strange. He presses a button, and the screen behind them plays a short, crackling audio clip. A recorded phone call between Dr. Phil's producer and Ray. Ray's voice distant, defensive. "I didn't hurt the boy. I just did what I had to do. He made his choice. I was protecting the family." The clip ends. The studio goes dead silent. Dr. Phill sits back, studying Linda. Protecting the family. From what, Linda? She shakes her head, sobbing softly. I don't know what that means." "But someone did," Dr. Phill replies, sliding one last document toward her. Ray's attorney turned over a sealed folder after his death. It was labeled to be opened if the Matthews case reopens. Inside, there was a confession letter, and it mentions Daniel by name. Linda's breath catches. What does it say? Dr. Phill hesitates. "Before we read it, I need you to understand. This may confirm things you've suspected for years." "Just read it," she says firmly. He opens the folder. The camera zooms in on his face as he reads the first lines. "Daniel came to me the night before he left. He said someone had threatened him, said they'd expose something that would ruin all of us if he didn't disappear." Dr. Phill looks up. "Linda, do you have any idea what that could mean?" She shakes her head, dazed. No, I don't. But the truth is somewhere deep down she does. You can see it flicker across her face. The memory of an argument, a secret she thought was long buried. The crowd feels it too. That uncomfortable silence when grief collides with guilt. Dr. Phill closes the folder slowly. "Linda, there's one more thing." Ray's note ends with a date. A very specific one, and it's tomorrow. Her eyes widen. "Tomorrow?" He nods. He said, "The truth will come to her on the 24th. He'll know when to call." The letter falls from Linda's hands. The pages scatter like broken glass. The truth isn't finished with her yet. Tomorrow would bring the phone call that shattered every illusion and prove that sometimes the dead never really die. If you discovered proof that someone lied about your loved one's death, would you chase the truth, even if it tore your family apart? It's 2:13 a.m., the kind of hour when silence feels alive. Linda's house is dark, except for the faint blue glow of a night light in the hallway, the same one she's kept on since Daniel disappeared. Her phone buzzes once, then stops. Unknown number. She hesitates, staring at it. Something inside her whispers, "Answer it." She slides her thumb across the screen. "Hello." Static, then a shaky breath. "Mom." The voice is hoarse, older, but achingly familiar. Linda freezes. "Daniel." A pause. Then, barely audible, "It's me." Her knees buckle. The phone slips against her shoulder as she grips the wall. "Where are you? Are you okay?" "Please," he interrupts softly. "I can't say much. I don't have long. I heard what you found." Her heart pounds. "The letter." "Yeah," he whispers. "I never wanted you to read it like that. But Ray's gone now. It's safe." Her voice trembles. "Safe?" "Daniel, you've been gone for 10 years. He breathes shakily. "I had to disappear, Mom. I didn't die. I ran. Uncle Ray said if I stayed, they'd hurt you. I didn't know what else to do." She's crying now, shaking uncontrollably. "Who, Daniel? Who would hurt us?" Silence. Then, Dad's business. The people he owed money to, Ray got involved to fix it. They made me sign something I didn't understand. When I refused, they said I'd never see you again. So I left. Her hand covers her mouth. Oh my God. Dr. Phil's voice cuts in softly. The clip transitions to the studio. That's when Linda called us. She was shaking. She said, "He's alive. My boy's alive." The audience sits frozen. We trace the call, Dr. Phill continues, and found it came from a prepaid cell near Tulsa, Oklahoma, the same town where that gas station photo was taken. Cut to B-roll footage. Dr. Phil's team on the road, empty streets, a small diner at dawn, the hum of a neon sign. You hear the narrator's voice. Sometimes the road to truth isn't paved in closure, it's paved in pain. Then, the reveal. Dr. Phill, in voiceover. When we finally made contact through an attorney, Daniel agreed to appear under one condition. No audience. Just him, his mother, and me. Fade to the studio. Quiet. Dimly. A curtain separates the stage in half. Linda sits on one side, clutching a tissue, whispering, "Please let it be real this time." The curtain lifts. A man steps forward, older, scruffy, eyes sunken but kind. Linda gasps, her hand flying in her mouth. "Mom!" She collapses into his arms before words can even form. For a moment, time stops. 10 years of grief collapse into one breath, one hug. No music, just the sound of two people crying, together, not apart. When they finally sit, Dr. Phill leans forward gently. "Daniel, why come back now?" He looks down. "Because Ray's gone. He left me something." He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a sealed envelope. The same slanted handwriting as before. He handed it to Dr. Phill. "He wanted you to have this." Dr. Phill unfolds the letter slowly. "To whoever finds this, I lied. I told everyone Daniel was dead because I thought it would protect him. But I took his freedom instead. He wasn't running from life. He was running from me." Linda gasps softly. Tears fall, but they're different this time. They're cleansing. Dr. Phill keeps reading. "If this reaches you, I'm sorry. I was trying to fix a mess I helped create. Daniel was the only innocent one. Tell him, I did love him like a son." The room goes still. Daniel's voice cracks. "He ruined everything, but he saved me too. I hated him, but I also think he was scared." Linda nods through tears. Fear makes people do terrible things. Dr. Phill leans back, his tone gentle. "Linda, Daniel, this is where healing begins. The truth doesn't erase what happened, but it gives you something grief never could: understanding." They both nod, holding hands tightly. And then, as the camera pans out, Dr. Phil's voice returns, soft, reflective, almost like a prayer. Sometimes the hardest conversations aren't the ones we have with others. They're the ones we finally have with the truth. But the story didn't end that night, because Daniel had one more revelation, one that would turn their reunion into a mission that helped countless others. If the person you lost came back tomorrow, would you forgive, or would you ask why they left in the first place? The studio is different now. Quieter. Softer. It's been 3 weeks since that night. Since a mother held her son again after a decade of believing he was gone. Dr. Phill walks onto the follow-up stage. No flashing lights. No drama. Just 2 chairs side by side. Linda and Daniel sit together, hands intertwined. For the first time in years, she looks peaceful. "Linda," Dr. Phill begins gently, "how have things been since that day?" She takes a breath. "Strange," she admits, her voice steady but emotional. "It's like learning to breathe again after holding it for 10 years. Every morning, I still check to see if he's real. And every time I see him drinking coffee, I remember how he used to leave his mug half full, just like his life." Daniel smiles softly. "She's still poetic," he says. "Some things never change." The audience chuckles lightly, the first laughter this story has allowed. But Dr. Phill doesn't let the moment fade. "You've both talked about forgiveness," he says. "Not just for Ray, but for each other. What does that mean to you now?" Linda looks at her son, her eyes glistening. "I used to think forgiveness meant letting go of what someone did to you. But now I know it's letting go of what it did to me." Daniel nods, voice trembling. "I was angry for a long time, Mom. I thought you gave up on me. I didn't understand you were hurting too. But that anger kept me in hiding, just as much as fear did. A moment of silence follows, not awkward but sacred, the kind of silence where truth finally settles in its place. Dr. Phill leans forward. You both survived something that destroys most families. What do you want people watching right now to take away from this? Daniel's answer comes quietly. That truth is never too late. No matter how deep it's buried, it still finds a way to breathe. Linda squeezes his hand. And forgiveness, she adds, isn't about rewriting what happened. It's about writing what comes next. The audience applauds softly, not loud but heartfelt. You can feel the relief ripple through the room. Then, Dr. Phill reveals something unexpected. There's one more thing I want to share. After your first show aired, we received hundreds of messages. People who saw themselves in your story. Parents who lost children. Children who disappeared and were found again. One woman said, "That letter gave me courage to open the one my daughter left behind." Linda covers her mouth, tears flowing. "I can't believe this is helping others." Daniel smiles faintly. That's why we started it, the Daniel Matthews Foundation. It's a network for families of missing persons. We help them track cold cases, find support, and share their stories. Because for every family like ours, there are hundreds still waiting for their truth. Dr. Phill nods proud. You turned your pain into purpose. That's not easy. That's legacy. He looks directly into the camera, his voice calm, sincere, deliberate. Folks, sometimes the stories we tell ourselves about loss become the cages that keep us there. But when we face the truth, no matter how painful, that's when healing begins. Linda and Daniel hug one more time as the lights dim. The camera lingers on the envelope, the one that started it all, resting on the table beside them. Its edges are worn, the ink faded, but the message endures. Because some letters never stop speaking, the screen slowly fades to black, and Dr. Phil's voice echoes one final reflection. Forgiveness isn't forgetting the pain. It's choosing to remember love louder. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes, the truth we're afraid to face is the very thing that frees us. And if you've ever held on to guilt, silence, or secrets, remember, forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the moment your story starts to heal. Because somewhere out there, someone's still waiting to open their letter.